We go.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. We are in the building, man. What's going on with you, Savon? Hello?
Good. Hip hop has been
Yeah.
active.
Hip hop
Yeah,
has been active, man. What's going on with you, man? How you doing?
man, I'm good. Everything been cool
Man,
over
I
here.
see you had a great weekend, man. You was outside.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I've been feeling the vibes, man. Been feeling the vibes.
So what was going on this weekend?
All right, here we have FAMU Be Out Day. It's an alumni event. For
Mhm.
any past alumni, any current students, or any friends of alumni, friends of current students, man. This is a FAMU celebration out here in Jacksonville, man. They do it in every city, but it was popping out here. It was like 90 something degrees. Everybody had tents out there, vendors. It was DJ. It was it was popping, and there was a few spots in Jacksonville going up this weekend, but it's gonna be a lot of stuff coming up. Just going into the summer, man, for a lot of cities, concerts, festivals. This
Yeah.
is the time people gonna be popping up and being outside. So this is the time where I really like hip hop and where there's opportunity for people to capitalize on new audiences and just the feeling of really being outside again, man. This is what I wanted.
This is what hip hop is about, man. I mean, I always hear these stories about the summer of '86, and I've heard Q-Tip tell the story about how the summer of '86 changed everything. That was the summer that Rakim dropped Eric B as president. Eric B and Rakim dropped Eric B as president, and the sound changed. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop is meant to be outside. It started with the block parties, and we seeing a lot of people outside right now, man. Look, I saw you guys' show on Thursday, and I saw the show yesterday as well. And I got a whole lot to say, man. I got to give credit where credit's due. I do not have a dog in this fight, but New York's kicking ass right now, and I wanna harp on that. And the New York Knicks are kicking ass right now too. I got to give credit where credit's due. And we got a guest coming on our show to talk about this battle, Mickey Factz. He's been in the battle arena himself. So I figured it'd be a great discussion for us to kind of go round for round with him. And he'll be joining us in a few minutes here. Actually, I got to send him the link. But it's been a real interesting battle. And we're going to wait till some more people come in, man. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody, so we can really get this thing going. I think it's a great opportunity for all the artists involved. And I love the fact that this is on some rap shit. It's not on some, you know what I'm saying, other shit.
Yeah, I could appreciate that too. Keeping it on wax,
Yeah.
keep it competitive, and like I said, when it comes down to this hip hop thing, I always say I wanted the good music, but when we're getting to the grassroots of things, this is where I can't really go against what the foundation of what this stuff is all about. I still think you guys give an edge to a certain side, and I have my reasons why I think
Yeah,
you do so. We'll get to that, but
we'll get
overall.
to that.
Yeah, overall, I like what hip hop is doing, and this is what I was saying all along. With like when people was throwing blame at Kendrick, people was throwing blame at that beef, and I was like, what you usually get out of great beefs most of the time is great music to follow, and I
Yeah.
feel like what Kendrick did was reignite the competitive spirit of hip hop, and I said the worst thing that could have happened was that artists just stopped creating and everybody just were onlookers. This is where, hey,
Yeah.
it's open right now. Kendrick's on tour. Drake is ramping up to do his own music. It's wide open. If you're a rapper and your job is to rap, what are you doing right now? You feel me? Like, that's
I
why I
agree.
can't shit on Joey completely, is because he's doing what I want rappers to do. But I told you why I'm not gonna overhype this on what he's doing. But right now he's holding his own. But we'll get into it.
This is just round one. Yeah, and we don't want to do too much, and I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get the hype too much going, and we'll get into it, once Mickey gets on the show. I
It's
will say
definitely something
this.
to get
It's like
excited about, though, in hip hop. This is something that the
exactly.
energy that we need to prop up more. But the you know what I'm talking about, the hype and stuff and all that. But this is the energy we need to celebrate and we need to focus on. If we're gonna focus on anything in hip hop, we always talk about the clown shit and point out the clown shit, but this is a vital point that I figure all of us could benefit and enjoy as real hip hop heads.
Well, what excites me about what's going on is how good Joey sounds, how confident he sounds. I've never heard Joey rap like this, and I've been following Joey's career since he got out of high school, since he was like 18 years old. And what sometimes this competitiveness does, and we saw it with Kendrick and we saw it with Drake, it makes people up their levels, right? And it makes people really focused on a level that you hadn't seen them focus before. And this is the best I've ever heard Joey rap. And it's not, knocking Joey and what he's done before, because I thought he was dope before, but you could tell that he's stepping things up. And I respect the fact that he took it to somebody who is in the battle rap arena. Most people who are album makers or artists that are on labels or whatever don't even do that. We don't really see that happen. And to that point of people talking about, okay, well, what about the music, blah, blah, blah. I mean, listen, man, good music would come if you're rapping at a certain level. I'm cool with the fact that people are up in their level. And I hate to say it, we say that about albums and music, but when a nigga drops a dope album in this time period, it gets overlooked. So
Well,
in this time period, being honest, a diss record is going to go way further than a dope album. Let's just be real.
I can't agree to that fully.
Mm.
Because you could drop a good single and that overweighs everything. They don't. If you drop a good single, people don't even care about an album or a body of work. They'll run that full. I mean, think about it. If Kendrick dropped "Not Like Us," right? It was not only a diss record, but it was a record. It was a single. He didn't put that on the album. He could have ate off that for a whole year, but he came with a body of work. You know what I'm saying? So, like one
But
great
it was,
single, one great single could own a year for real. But it's great
I
when you have
agree.
a body of
But
work to
not to interrupt you, but to be honest, though, when we talk about that single in particular, it was a diss record, right? And so I think that it's a copycat league out here. I do think that now there's something to be said about the fact that the biggest record of 2024 was a diss record, which was a single, which was in a format that was, viable on different formats or I guess different placings, if you will. It was a hit single, which doubled as a diss record, right? I think that kind of sets the precedence moving forward that a diss record can be the biggest song of the year. And which
yeah.
one in this viral era is going to be valued more? A hit song or a diss record that is a hit song?
I think actually just it being good. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for years we have seen that people value singles more because we have seen
Of course.
people dropping singles or dropping little EPs or singles to the point where nobody's concerned about dropping an album. I mean, we've seen it from the biggest artists just ride off singles for the year or features and don't drop an album. So I think it is dope when you could be able to do both. And the albums is for long term listening for me. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Right.
goes for your legacy. The singles is what grabs the looks, what grabs the attention of people and gives somebody to listen to for that current. But like it always supposed to revert you to that body of work. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But in this era, it always have shown you, if anything that anybody has learned is you don't have to have a dope album to be successful in today's climate. You don't.
And I remember a producer of mine, shout out to Art, man. He was telling me years and years ago, and I didn't want to hear it. This is back when I was an artist. He's like, listen, man, the album format is going away. Like, people are really going to just be focusing on singles. And that's where we're at. And that's where we've been for some time. But I think that the true artists, and luckily, people like Kendrick have set the foundation with their career that they're known as album makers. I mean, the true artists, I don't want to say true artists, a certain pocket of artists want to make albums. But if we're talking about from a business standpoint and the people who are in the offices, they would much rather deal with singles. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a single budget, you got a single that can make up basically the amount of money that a full project can make up with less overhead. And unfortunately, I don't think that moves music forward, because I do feel like you need full bodies of work for music to have the impact that it has. But I mean, I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to break the mold, and I think it has to be somebody outside of a Kendrick, because I feel like he comes from a album generation, if you will. I mean, we were gonna talk about DMX's "It's Dark and Hell Is Hot" celebrating was it 27 years now. I don't think the DMX's impact would be what it was if it wasn't for that full body of work and that packaged album in It's Dark and Hell is Hot. It
Well,
got people to know who that person is.
just to stop you though, that was a different era from then.
It
This is a
was.
different. That's a different era then than it is now. So yeah, that body of work holds up in that era more than this era when we're living in a single society and
Well,
music.
all right. Well, let's take it to the business and the way that music is distributed, right? Back then, like you said, it was about body of work because, if we're just talking from a consumer standpoint, sorry guys, I was sending over the link. If we're talking from a consumer standpoint, the business was we're going to put out a single to get people to go out there and buy the album, the physical disc, right? We have a product to sell. We have a product that's on the shelf. We have a product that we're massively distributing. And based on, Stop Being Greedy, Get At Me Dog, or Rough Riders Anthem, we want you to go buy this whole album. Now, when that whole scope of things go away, like you said, we're living in today now. To a company who is getting behind an artist, who is giving that artist that level of support, how important to the business of it all is it for them to put together a full body of work, a new artist or artist in this era?
Well, it was more focused on back then with you having the dopest album out. I mean, the source,
Yeah.
the source was like the Bible for that. They're looking for those 5 mics or who got the best mics. That's what made people go. It was promoted heavier to go listen to a body of work then than what it is now. Like
Right.
now, it's just like, hey, it's just about who could stay relevant or who could hold a title for as long as they could. It's really like when they say hip hop was WWE. They're not lying. It's like different belts and weight classes for how these dudes throwing music around. It's like who's holding the belt for a long reigning on this until the next one comes. And it's just like it's so microwavable that you can have an artist. And now if you drop a couple singles and you give us like a decent body of work, that next body of work, if it's not amazing, they write you off. I mean, we see that with a lot of artists. Like that's why the microwavable, consumable music is keep on coming because it's about quantity more than quality, and it's been like that for a long time. But I think now, if the catalyst for change was the Drake versus Kendrick thing, I think people need to focus on being able to do both. Have duality in what it is to be an all around artist and not just a hit maker, because that was kind of the difference in this battle with Kendrick versus Drake. I mean, both have good bodies of music, both. But Drake is mostly known for those singles, that popular music, and Kendrick is kind of from a grassroots approach to the music, and it kind of put two different cultures against each other. So
Yeah, it was a culture war for sure.
so if anything you get out of this, it should be that you could do both if you do it well, but let's focus to what the real thing of what we really love if you want it to be long term, and that's a little bit of being able to do both and the competitive nature you throw back in there, and then a whole other thing is of the culture of hip hop that we could throw in there as well. So it's interesting because I said, hey, let's not write off this dark period in hip hop because I think that the next thing that's going to come is what we want and what we've been complaining about where we wanted it to go. It's just gradually getting there, and I think there's hope. I really have optimism that it's just a reset. It's just a reset button, and we're getting back to it.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says Cardi B has an A-list career based off of singles and features. Yes, she does. She's a personality though, so I think that her plight is slightly different than most artists. She comes from the reality television world, so she's able to sell people on, person, her being funny, what I'm saying, her being almost a social media personality that makes music whenever. But speaking of being well-rounded, again, Stark and Hell is Hot celebrates 27 years. DMX, he hit this game like a tidal wave in 1998. I remember the first time I heard DMX, I believe it was Money, Power, Respect. And when I say I believe, I debate from if it was 4321, LL Cool J's Posse Cut, or Money, Power, Respect. But I do know when I heard him on Money, Power, Respect, my first instinct was like, yo, who is that? And this is with Jadakiss spitting like a crazy verse on there too. Kim on the hook. And when he finally dropped his album, I don't say finally because it happened not too long after that, but I heard Get At Me Dog first. And then I feel like I heard Stop Being Greedy after that. And when you finally hear the full body of work and this complex individual and this man who has such a story and who, had lived life. I think that's the one thing that him and Jay-Z had, that was very different than a lot of their peers with their debut album. You had guys who had already lived life, and their stories were so different than what we heard from most debuts at that time. But to your point, though, DMX being so rounded, where he was able to make a Get At Me Dog, he was able to make a single that was like Rough Riders Anthem. He gave you storytelling, and he was able to do a How's It Going Down. It's like, that was a full, complete artist that gave you a full body of work that when you heard this album, you became a fan because you felt like you knew that individual, or you at least empathized with that individual. And he gave you his story and he gave you his life in that album. And I think those are some things that when we talk about, albums that come around now, you don't get as much. You know what I'm saying? Not saying people don't do it, but that's what really makes people hardcore dedicated fans, because this is coming off of, Pac being, murdered, and people were looking for somebody that they could attach on to. It was, like they did Pac. And when you have somebody like a DMX who puts their life on the track, they give you reasons to be fans, and his fans are hardcore to this day.
Yeah,
and I think that debut has everything to do with that.
And you said it. You said, there's tracks on there where it gives you so many glimpses of DMX. The way the album even kicks off and goes into Rough Riders Anthem. And then, on that same album, you got Damien, you got How It's Going Down, you got Get At Me Dog, you got the joint with Mace on there. There's so many angles within this album. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got so many angles within that album. It was great. Not only great for Def Jam, but it was great with bringing hip hop to the streets and giving a new voice, and a very unique voice at that. And then it's in a time where you had to be dope. You know what I'm saying? You had to be dope, and it was also a time where you actually have to be not only dope, but in a way, living what you rapping. And so DMX,
he did that.
Yeah, DMX was the epitome of that. And this is a dope album. I wish DMX's run was longer as far as quality music that he was putting out. We know what he battled with outside of that and whatnot, but man, X is solidified, and he's the only one that I give credit for really really staying ahead of Jay in certain avenues. That's the guy that I really credit to really giving Jay a run for his money, for real.
Well, I mean, I think him and Jay were just too. Well, they did similar things as far as like connecting with the people, and I think that's another thing that when we're looking at artists now, it's all about that connectivity. And Jay really connected with the people around Volume 2, Volume 1, and Reasonable Doubt. But X kind of connected with people, but more in a energetic, emotional way. It was an emotional attachment where he would go out there and pray on stage, and he was giving you a level of energy. I mean, you look at the performances from DMX, man, he's pouring sweat. Like, that just wasn't, the way that Jay presented his music. I think that Jay has the great ability to be able to speak to you. His conversational flow is just something that I think makes him stand apart from many of his peers. And his conversational flow is so strong that he doesn't even have to go out there with all kind of crazy energy, yell at you or anything, because he's able to place his words so carefully and so well that people will run with the one-liners that Jay comes with. DMX did something similar to that, but used his vocabulary different. That's why I just think it's funny as you grow and people say people like Biggie are more lyricists than people like Pac. It's like, nah, they're both lyricists. They just position their lyrics in different ways, and they made choices lyrically. DMX is a lyricist. people feel in the way that he was able to make people feel, he's a lyricist. Period.
Yeah. And then
And go ahead.
I was gonna say that, and then being a part of the crew he was a part of, and then like I said, this is a guy who dropped 2 albums in 1 year and both went platinum. You know what I'm
It's crazy.
saying? That's why I'm saying this is a guy who gave Jay a run for his money, because back then people wasn't doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a rapper too, X was on fire, and
Yeah.
I feel like he was a guy that if he stayed on his business, if he stayed sober, if he stayed like
Yeah.
with this, it's crazy to think what more X could have gave us if he was focused and didn't have the issues he did. But man, like, X was
So
a treasure. It was definitely a treasure.
yeah, he was a scene stealer. And again, man, his debut album, I feel like we talk about the debut albums, the great debut albums in hip hop. And hold on one second. Let's see. Let's make you Factz hit me right now. We can post that up. Hold on. I apologize, guys.
You all
Uh,
good?
but no, we talk about the great debut albums, and somehow DMX's Dark and Hell is Hot doesn't really get put in that conversation like the Illmatics, the Ready to Dies, and things like that. And maybe because it came slightly later. But I do think that for an up and coming artist, especially a hip hop artist, that's an album that should be studied. That's an album that should be looked at, because this person gave you so much of their life in one LP, and it wasn't carried by any features or anything like that. And really, the production was at the time by producers who just weren't really known or notable in that moment. Two Tone with the super chat says two Tone with the super chat says, does DMX surpass Jay-Z without outside issues? I think if we're just talking about from a raw talent standpoint, I mean, that could go either way. I feel like DMX is just a straight rock star on some different type of stuff. It's hard to say without the issues, because the issues were a part of what the
Few
complexities that
music.
made his
Mhm.
music as connecting as it did. I mean, Slippin's one of his greatest songs, and I don't know if you have songs like that without the issues. So that's a catch-22. I don't know what. I'm not saying that the issues made DMX a great artist, because I feel like he was a great artist regardless. But that's a loaded question. But if we're just talking about on the surface and on paper, Jay-Z's focus, I feel like, is what really pushed him through a lot of others. It wasn't just raw talent. I don't think that from a raw talent standpoint, Jay-Z is extremely talented. Don't get me wrong. But if we're talking about the greatest MCs from a raw talent standpoint, I wouldn't put Jay in the first couple of people I mentioned, because he had to develop his talent over time. And we heard what he sounded like from the ground floor. I heard DMX from the ground floor. That was raw talent. You heard Biggie from the ground floor. That was raw talent. So I don't know. That's a tough question to answer.
Well,
Really.
no, I mean, both of them had sort of intangibles that one didn't have. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That goes from beyond music. Like X, if he would have stayed on a better path, X had a future in Hollywood still. You know what I'm saying? There was a future in Hollywood. I think X, he captures you through feeling and everything, but I think Jay has an intangible that he has the versatility that
Yeah.
could land him in songs or things that you wouldn't see X on. I think Jay had the better business mind. But I think that one thing that could make or break both of them is production. We know both could rap, but some of the production, let's think about X bad songs, let's think about Jay's bad songs. I think production goes a long way for the both of them. And I just feel like it would take more, if we're talking about the trajectory for DMX to keep going. I
Mhm.
think it would take more of a team behind DMX than it would a Jay. I think Jay is kind of like a working machine that he just brings people and put them in a fold of whatever his vision is, and he goes off the top of the dome and forms that. As for X, I feel it
Yeah.
would need more collaborative effort later on to bring those hits for him. But it's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like just going based off what their music was sounding like, through those last years of when X was still making quality music versus Jay. I feel like that's kind of where Jay has him beat, is the versatility with songs and the writing of those songs, on to get across the bigger audiences more than X. You know.
In 1998, though, I mean, to be perfectly real, I mean, that I would give DMX the MVP of 98. And that's even with Volume 2 being what it was and being the major success that it was. We even, when we try to correlate this to sports or whatever, if you look at, a season that somebody's having that has, a really loaded roster around them, I think that if you have a person who is number one in the Eastern Conference and number one in the Western Conference, and the person who's number one that did it with less help, I got to give them the nod. And that's where I would put DMX in 98. This album is special because of him. And not to say Volume 2 wasn't the success that it was because of Jay, but it was just a lot going on. You had Can I Get On there with Jai and Emil. You had Money and the Thing with Jermaine Dupri. You had Money Cash Hoes with DMX. You had, Jigga What, Jigga Who, Timbaland, all this stuff. DMX, it was just about him on this album. And I feel like he gave you more of himself because it was his debut. He gave you more of himself on this album than Jay ever gave on Volume 2. Volume 2 was about commercial success. They successfully did that, but DMX was able to give his life and make it a commercial success, which is very difficult to do in any genre, especially hip hop at that time.
But that also can cripple you too, and not even just it's no knock the X, but it cripples artists when they give so much so early, because then people are, what are you gonna come with the follow up as? Jay, he gave you a glimpse of him on every album, and that's what was able to stretch his content throughout the time, because you didn't have all of him on this album. You just got a glimpse of Jay, you got a glimpse of Sean, you got a glimpse of Jigga, Hove. Like, you get different phases of him as for X. You put it all up front. You want to know who's similar to that? It's like 50. He gave you so much on Get Rich or Die Trying. The Massacre was dope, but it's like, what do you get after that? It's just, now, how can I figure out the best way to make best hit album? I don't really have more of me to give you unless it's more new experiences or whatever, because you didn't sprinkle it. You just gave it all out, and that's one of those things.
It's very similar though. I think Get Rich or Die Trying and It's Dark and Hell is High are very similar albums, because you have guys who have been around for a while who are just really getting their debut shot. And I mean, 50 said it in the title. He giving you everything, because I'm gonna get rich or die trying. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not holding anything back. And I think as a fan of music, we rarely get those efforts. And like you said, there are long-term effects of doing that, but you gotta love when somebody gives you everything on one album. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta love that.
Appreciate it. It just sucks.
Like Kanye did that on College Dropout. But, I think he was able to continue to reinvent himself. But to me, that's what makes College Dropout stand, by itself, like, because he gave you everything. Like,
but you want to know what's something that's interesting about Kanye and his music? Not only did he give you that in the beginning, but every album you kind of get where he was on each point of life. You get
College Dropout.
Yeah, exactly. And then, unfortunately, when you get to the graduation, that's when you start to see the turn to rock star a little bit, because you get records like Stronger or whatever, and then you see what goes on and so forth with Kanye from there. But his timeline is like a living timeline with like wherever he's at musically at that time. As for Jay, it's like just another chapter being open of his music, or where a point of life it was. It's like a timestamp with Jay. And like I said, I'm not mad at somebody that gives something up front, because like it makes you have a classic album. It's just kind of like, it sucks sometimes when artists give you such a great thing in the beginning, and it's kind of like, now what do they go from there? Is it a sophomore jinx? Is it like, how can I reinvent myself where I didn't, shoot off all my rounds, on one album?
I mean, you got to trust in yourself as an artist. And it is tough, I would imagine, as an artist to say, you know what? I can come up with something new. I can grow. But, I think that sometimes the fans don't let you grow either. You could go out there and actually create an album that's better than your first, but based on where people were at the time in their life when they heard you for the first time, it's never going to match that. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, you kind of got to mean different things to different generations. I mean,
I
we
mean,
talk about album making, and yeah, I think Kendrick's done a really good job of dropping quality albums that everyone could kind of rank differently, right? You know what I'm saying? Some people might think Damn is closer to the top. Some people might think To Pimp a Butterfly is closer to the top. Some people think Good Kid, Mad City. And I guess all you could do is just make the best music that you can make at that time. But the debut, you just got so much in your arsenal, man. I'm
but
hearing we got Mr. Factz in here.
that's
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was about to say that's another cool thing about Kendrick though. It's not like it's like different chapters. It's like, but it's different chapters as far as perspective.
Yeah,
Because you get the lens of what Good Kid, Mad City is, then you get the lens of what it was on To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, and then even for people who don't like Mr. Morale, literally a perspective piece of music. Like
it is.
I feel like as a great artist, you live best through experience, and if you're not living and capturing those experiences, it it kind of keeps you in a stalemate with your music sometimes. And unfortunately, that's why I give so much love to those artists beforehand, is because they had a chance to really like grow with their music and speak to those experiences better. Now these
Hmm.
artists don't get a chance to grow because it's like, all right, nigga, like you haven't dropped the album in the last 6 months. You wash. What's up? So like these artists are
Right.
not getting a chance to grow and experience stuff to be able to place it in the music like that, man. Is That's why I gotta give the credit to those artists from back then, because now, man, to try to get that feeling of growing and living and experiencing and be able to put it in the music. I mean, unless you keep on going through stuff back and you're not really having the greatest life outside of this. I mean, other than, people are not really able to grow. I mean, you have certain artists that there are things that are always happening to them that they always have something to talk about. But for those ones that are staying out the way, I mean, if you're not totally keep on giving people stuff to go with, it's like people consider you washed. And it's just unfortunate how we have grown in music and how we appreciate our artists now.
Well, you got to be focused on a whole nother level. I think we're getting Mickey in here now. Before we do that, though, and I mean, speaking of the dog or whatever, and speaking about classics, did you hear Snoop's new album? What did you think about Is It a Crime?
I like the album. I actually
I'm
like
with
the
you.
album, and I like it. And it seems like a continuation of Back on Death Row. I feel like this is really who Snoop is, man. This album, like Missionary, seemed like the album with an asterisk next to it, like a project, like a special project. That's what it sounds like. And I feel like this is more on par with Snoop, from the music, the sound of it being more so just his flavor, like his vibes. And you know, I like the way he started it off. I just like everything about this vibe of this album. This is a Snoop Dogg album,
What
and
does
I
it
felt,
say about Missionary that he felt like he had to follow it up so quick? Because I mean, Missionary came out literally just a couple of months ago, maybe like what, 6 months ago?
well, the cool thing about Snoop is, like, if people are paying attention, Snoop keeps you with a body of music. Like
Yeah.
there was a time he travel outside the genre. He give you a reggae album. He gives you a church a gospel album. But people forget, like, or if people even care to go listen to, like, in the in between of that, he gave you Back on Death Row, and he had visuals of that and everything. And he worked with the Dog Pound on their stuff. Then he give you Missionary. Then he give you this. It's like Snoop has kind of been consistent, but I guess people pick and choose what they want to listen to now, or what they want to give credit to. And it seems like, once again, the negativity outweighed what Snoop has been doing, as far as the negativity for Missionary not being what people expected, and of course the Trump stuff. But those were highlights. But the good highlights of how consistent has been, the bodies of work that actually has been good, has been the stuff that's been propped up. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
what we are, man.
I don't know, man. It's like I like Missionary. Let me say that. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. Let's see. Going through the technical issues. All right. Oh, there we go. We got Mickey Factz in
Well,
here. What's going on with you, brother?
I'm good. What's up, bro? How you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. Have you met Saran yet?
I have
My
not.
co-host
What's up, brother?
What's good, man?
Savon
I'm
Mickey
chilling, brother.
Facts, man. Yeah, man. Listen, man. I love your breakdowns on this battle, and for the people who don't know, I mean, you should know. Mickey Facts is very, very experienced in the battle circuit. Very experienced lyricist. One of the most incredible lyricists I've ever heard, and I'm not just saying that because you're here, homie. But New York is winning right now, in my personal estimation, and I got to give you guys props. I know you're from the Bronx originally. Congratulations with the Knicks and going to the Eastern Conference Finals, first of all.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
hip hop aesthetic, and I don't know how you feel about it because you know a lot of the people that are involved. Congratulations, because Joey Badass is kicking ass right now, and I think Joey Badass is up, and he's holding down the town solo. Now, I want to go round for round with this. What were
Okay.
your thoughts when you first heard the cipher? The cipher that we're talking about is the Red Bull cipher, where it was Big Sean, Ab-Soul, and Joey Badass. And Joey Badass went out there and threw a shot of Daylyt, who is a battle rapping MC. What were your thoughts when you first heard that?
I couldn't believe it. Obviously, somebody said that he was shooting at the West Coast. I heard like the first four lines of the song, and then I just turned it off. And then I kept getting tweets saying that he was dissing Daylyt, and I was like, dissing Daylyt. So I kind of went back and listened again, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing because this is a this is a super popular artist. You know what I'm saying? He's an actor. He's had a classic album. Um, he has a very prominent rap group in hip hop with Pro Era. So I couldn't believe that he was actually dissing Daylyt, and it was actually really good. It might be Joey Badass's best verse he ever spit.
I think it's a
Uh,
verse of the year candidate for sure. Because I know you said something in one of your breakdowns. You were like, these are moments that the battle rappers or just MCs in general dream of. Like we wait for these moments. Like, can you kind of expound upon that a little bit?
in terms of what?
In terms of the fact that these are moments, like this is a moment, and as far as like what you think or what you thought Daylyt should do after hearing something like that, like what would you do after if that cipher was aimed at Mickey Facts?
I mean, I told him what he. I called
Yeah.
him when he called me, and we had a very uh, we had a very strong conversation about what he should do. The conversation was basically, you need to. We know everybody here that's potentially. I don't know if this is live, but everybody here that's in the chat and both of you guys up here, we know that Daylyt is lyrically better than Joey Badass. All of us know this. Um, so when we spoke, I said, I'm not worried about the raps. I was never worried about the raps with Daylyt. I said you need to create a moment. Joey created a moment. He created a hip hop feeling. He created a vibe that we haven't seen in a long time. On top of that, he had your man with him, and
Mm.
your man was reacting. You know what I'm saying? And you need to create that moment with your people. You need to either have Ab-Soul with you, maybe get Murder Mook, maybe get Loaded Lux or somebody like that, or anybody from the East Coast. Go to Flex, go to LA Leakers. If he kicks these same rhymes that he kicked there with them hyping him up, we have a completely different conversation, especially if it's over a beat that people either recognize or is super fire. And
Right.
I'm not sure. I guess he didn't take my advice. I just went on Twitter and I asked people. I said, "How y'all feeling about the Daylyt record?" I had about 70 responses. It was about 5 people that said they liked it, man. That just, I don't know, man. It
We could
hurts,
ask
but
the people in the chat here while we're having the conversation, just to, you know what I'm saying, just to balance it out. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. I know that some people were saying that. Well, hold on. Let me ask you, Savon. What were your
Yeah.
thoughts on the Daylyt? Because I know you hit me and
So
was like,
I
Daylyt
got a
killed
question. I got a question.
it. Okay.
We're talking about Mickey. Don't correct me if I'm wrong here. You said that we didn't get a moment like this before. Or what was your exact words that you said on that as far as the moment for the battle? Were you talking specifically about Daylyt or the nature of hip hop that we're not getting?
I was talking specifically about Daylyt. His response needed to have the exact same impact that Joey's had because
Oh,
of the gravity of what Joey did with he was it was on the Red Bull page. It was with Big Sean and Absol. He was dissing Daylyt with Absol. There is just a lot of factors that went into the impact of what Joey did, and that's what I was trying to convey to Daylyt.
okay. So I get it as far as the moment, as far as the impact. I'm with you. But I don't think it was the diss from Joey that made the Red Bull thing is dope. I think that was the icing on the cake. I think it was the fact that nobody else is doing this in this type of fashion in hip hop right now. It being wide open. We're coming off the Kendrick and Drake, and to see something like this with hip hop being in the stalemate, I think that's the bigger thing than just Joey's diss. Number two, the reason what makes this as dope as it is because we are coming off the Kendrick versus Drake thing. I think we don't get this if we don't get that. You know, and when we're looking at this, I think we given a lot of extra credit for rappers doing what rappers are supposed to be doing, and that's rapping. I like what Joey's doing. He's holding his own, but I can't give you extra credit points just because now you decide you want to rap, buddy. I like it, but it's you come on, man. Women have been holding down NY hip hop for a long time. We go Nicki, we go Cardi, we go Ice Spice.
Hold on,
There's
hold on. Are you going? Hold on. Are you leaning towards that Ice Spice
no,
thing in New
no,
York
no,
line?
no. This
I
is
didn't
fact.
like that line.
No. This is facts because the only other energy that people look for from coming out of hip hop in New York was Pop Smoke, and unfortunately, he passed away. He was taken off too early, and even with that energy, I don't know. And I like Pop Smoke. I don't know how that would have been sustainable over time because the type of hip hop he was going with, the drill scene and everything. I don't know how sustainable that would have been. But if that was you guys' new energy and resurgence for hip hop coming out of New York, it says a lot about the real spitters and lyricists that was sitting on their hands, and I don't know what they were waiting for. So I can't give extra points and sprinkling on because somebody finally decided to get out there and want to go rap. But I give credit for keeping the competitive nature and keeping it grassroots and keeping it funky. Like this is the epitome of what we want out of hip hop. I just can't give him extra credit and say he's killing because you're doing what we've been wanting rappers to do for a very long time.
Still got to execute though.
Well,
Go
He's
ahead.
he's holding his own, but I'm not gonna overhype it.
I actually agree with what he's saying. I think, you know, I think what he's saying is extremely valid. The issue here is New York's identity is framed around being, especially radio, it's framed around being a amalgamation of what is popular across the entire country. So an artist that might be really nice lyrically or can rap that may have had popularity in the past, they're not going to get that shine because that's not what the youth are listening to in New York City. The lyricism is not pretty much promoted in the way that it should be in that space in New York City. So even with you mentioning Pop Smoke, I won't. There's no pushback with anything that you said, right? I agree with you 1,000,000% because again, you named every artist that had a very big prominent space in New York was not a lyricist. Bobby Shmurda, Pop Smoke, Cardi B, uh, Ice Spice. Even the even my guy who's been in jail since like February. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, forgot
Yeah.
about
So
him.
like these are not lyricists, right? Like, but then you got guys that are lyricists that are in New York. Even like Griselda, they had to go to Flex to diss him before he played them. They had to physically go to his freestyle platform to diss him so that they could play so that he could play them on the radio. That is the issue that a lot of MCs are experiencing. And if it's not beef related, or if it's not something that's, it's a lot of drill music that's happening in New York too, and that is can't be played on the radio. So there's a lot of factors. But again, I have no pushback for
I
what you're
mean,
saying.
there's certain artists from New York who has been outside. I think what Jim has been doing with staying. I think Jim is one of the older MCs that kind of connect with the younger generation, and he has been poking his neck out and rapping. But it's just like, where's everybody else when it comes down to that? We see the freestyles, but where's the music, bro? Like, that's just where it confuses me. Is I can't give people brownie points for just stepping out and finally doing what we needed to do. It's just like, my favorite artist is from New York. That's Jay's favorite artist of all time for me, for as a rapper, right? But when I look at hip hop in New York, in the New York hip hop fan base, it's like the Knicks fans. It's like we congratulate the small victories and we say, oh, this is the Mecca, but we shouldn't get so excited if we're supposed to be used to this shit. Y'all the Mecca, right? This is the GOATs, where it comes from. Why are y'all so excited for somebody doing what is supposed to be usual for you guys?
I must
Because
admit,
West Coast kept rapping.
and I'm gonna say this as somebody that's from here, like from Atlanta. It does feel like, even with the Knicks winning, it does feel like a big event when New York does things, and it does. I will give New York that, and I felt that even when Joey put out the finals, and it was like it had this heroic, almost like when you would hear Jay over some Just Blaze production back in the days talking that shit, and New York is synonymous with that, just like other regions are synonymous with other things. But that powerful music that we used to get from Dipset and things like that, like New York's able to pull that off in ways that other regions, don't, because we pull off other things, right? Let me get to some of these super chats real quick. LP with the super chat says, I'm surprised by the move by the West Coast cats. Ray dropped the bop, Day overselling a warning shot, bringing up baby mamas and dead homies, missteps. Let's see. I think it was another super chat. I think I saw Mad Max up in here. Yeah, Mad Max says, so ASAP Rocky, Ferg don't exist. Talking about all NY had was females, and the music was pop. And the music pop made had Quavo, Game, Kanye, etc. Copying all the artists, started experimenting with the drill because of Pop Smoke. I think he got another one. He says, Mad Max in the super chat says, who are the artists, period, in the mainstream that's lyrical? There are like 4 of them. Stop it. And NY is like the Yankees fans. We got 30 chips. Beat it.
Yeah, and that's like the typical New York fan. You guys are constantly talking about what y'all had, not where it's at. It's not about what you guys had or where it was. It's about where it's at. Hip hop is a what have you done for me lately? And objectively, I can say New York hasn't had it in damn near over 20 years, bro. And it's not even shitting on New York. It's like the small victories, bro. It's kind of like, come on, man. Like, we just have to enjoy what it is.
I think New York has a big record every year. There's a big record that comes out in New York every single year since like 2014. When Remy Ma came home, she had the record all the way up with Fat Joe. That was a huge record.
What did the album do?
I mean, it's not, it's not an album. It's not an album era right now. We're not in an album era. We're in a singles.
But when have we got a good body? The last good body of work that I said that came out of New York, like mainstream album wise, was Cardi, Invasion of Privacy.
I would disagree. I mean, Nas won a Grammy, for his
King's
Disease work.
Great.
King's Disease and King's Disease 3 was great. I mean, it's. So I understand what he's saying. What he's saying from like a mainstream success level, right? The artists that we're naming or that I can name, they had great singles that resonated with the people. Fabio Foreign, even Designer, like with Panda. Like these records, New York always has somebody that has at least one record.
Yeah, and I have to put asterisks by a lot of them. Sorry to interrupt. I have to put asterisks by all of them. Like how you said, Designer, Panda. Why did people initially like Panda? They thought it was Future. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean,
Originally, they thought it was Future. They did not think that was a New York artist. A lot of
I
the
think
influence
that I
of
think
those
that
people,
a lot of regions piggyback on other regions anyway. I
well,
mean, I would say if we want to talk
same.
about what New York does, I would say that West Side Gun dropped a classic with Pray for Paris. You know what I mean? I would say Conway the Machine dropped shit damn near a classic with so
Ransom
huh?
with Ransom.
Not well, shit, yeah. Him and Ransom were cooking. I think that if you're talking about from a mainstream standpoint, hip hop's just in a different place, period, with all regions. But if you're looking for, MCing and lyricism and that's your, what I'm saying, your lane, a lot of New York MCs are giving you that because Ransom is giving you that. What I'm saying? Conway's been consistently giving that. West Side's always an event when he drops as well. I just think hip hop looks different in general. I don't want to get too far, of course. I want to get
Yeah,
back to this battle real quick.
yeah.
Now, everything happening in succession, right? So you had the freestyle, boom, and then here comes Ray Vaughn.
Yeah.
What did you think about when Ray Vaughn dropped, his Joey diss record?
I thought that it was rushed.
Okay,
I thought that, you know, he was playing a little too much. He was dancing in the record. It was more of a bop. And this is a serious situation. This is a serious situation right now.
right,
And I don't know if I think he kind of just took it. He took it light, no pun intended. On top of the fact that Joey hit him with one bar.
right.
Joey hit him with one bar. He responded with 3 minutes, and it kind of like Joey kind of. Well, the Ray Vaughn record just didn't. It didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. I
Well,
know
in
that.
your estimation, what's the rules on that, right? Like, do you feel like if somebody hits you with one bar, they deserve a full record, or just one bar in exchange, or like, how should an MC even, approach that?
So I can't tell a person what to do, right?
What would you tell your students? I'll say it like
I would tell them respond with a bar, maybe 2 or 3
that.
bars. That's what I would do. Like I feel like Ray I mean, it goes according to what he said. He's in his crash out heritage. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So he crashed out, and the issue is, to me, it didn't hit as hard as I think he thought it was gonna hit. Because it's still hip hop, right? Like, and that felt too much like a vibe or a quote unquote bop. And
right.
I don't know if the people kind of got behind it like he thought it was like everybody has their own fan base. So you could go to somebody's YouTube page and when they drop a record, people are gonna like it. So we can't base it off of YouTube. We gotta see what the community is saying. And right now, Ray Vaughn, the community was like, this is not it. That's what they were saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like you said, when it's a bop, I think that kind of overshadows, especially like if it's an initial response. And like you said, he only gave him one bar. What did you think about Joey's response, to Ray Vaughn's record with the finals?
I mean, he cleaned him up.
Yeah.
He cleaned him up, and you got to look at it like Ray responded very quickly to the freestyle cipher, and then Joey responded very quickly to Ray's free. And Ray has yet to respond. Finals
Well,
came out last week.
damn. Yeah. Well, Reason responded. And once again, like you said, talking about the one bar, Reason got one bar. What did you think about Reason's response to Joey?
I'm not sure if Reason should have. I like Reason. I just don't think he should have. That wasn't a. I don't know if that was a diss. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if Joey dissed Reason. It was more of a bar, but I can't tell somebody how to feel about how they feel.
Yeah.
So Reason responds. I like the third portion of the song. I thought that was really great. Didn't really agree with him dissing all of the East Coast, but nobody seems to really be in response to him, so that's okay. And Joey is not probably going to respond to reason. I just don't. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I don't. It wasn't enough for me, for Joey to respond. If you're asking me.
Okay, and just like your prediction, because we're gonna go over our predictions in a second. Daylyt responded today. Where do you think that Joey, or I guess everyone else, moves forward from here? Like, what happens next?
So I think that Joey will respond either tonight or tomorrow, and then I think Joey goes back into hiding until Kendrick gets off tour. That's what I think happens.
Mm,
That's what I think
interesting.
happens.
So you think he would respond to Daylyt or everybody?
I think he's gonna respond back to Daylyt, and then he is gone. That is it. We're not gonna hear from him until Kendrick comes outside.
Okay.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Because I feel like Daylyt did enough
Yeah.
lyrically to make somebody come outside, but the consensus from the community and culture, they're like, this is not enough. So if I'm Joey, I'm gonna come back out and really go crazy, and then at the end of the song say, "I am done" until Kendrick comes out, and then just completely disappear. That's what I would do.
Well, I know you got a class to teach in a second, so we appreciate, what I'm saying, you coming through and giving your insight. I know you got Sticky Fingers coming up. Tell the people about that, and for the people who don't know about Pendulum Ink, let them know, where they can sign up and what Pendulum Ink's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So for y'all that's in the chat, obviously, Pendulum Inc. is a school for hip hop and lyricism. We teach MCs to be better MCs. We teach the art of it, how to rhyme on beat, the lyricism aspect of it, the mental health aspect of it. We teach also um, the business side of it and how to create content, all on Zoom. So you can be anywhere in the entire world. And every month we have a different MC pulling up to teach their particular style. So far this year, we've had Elzai, Tretch from Naughty by Nature, Exhibit, R.A. the Rugged Man. And for May, we have Sticky Fingers. Some of the other MCs that we have coming up for the rest of the year, Slick Rick, Rakim, Black Thought, Jadakiss, The Game, etc., etc. So if you're interested, sign up at pendulumink.com, pull up on us, man. And yeah, man, it should be a fun time. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, man. I appreciate you, bro. And as always, but yeah, we gotta connect on some things for sure. We
Yeah,
gotta
let me
connect.
know. Let me know. It was great meeting you, bro. I love your points. I think everything that you were saying was stellar. Good points. So yeah, man, great talking to you guys.
Yes, sir. As always. Yeah,
But,
man. Go ahead, Saran.
like I said, man, we giving credit. We're giving credit to somebody who finally wants to rap. And I think we're minimizing those disses a little bit. Now, one thing I can say is the Daylyt diss was underwhelming as far as what I wanted from him, but it wasn't bad. And I
Okay.
think one thing that people are ignoring is the things that's actually being said by Joey. When Joey, it just seems like clever wordplay of subs, while these guys are directly picking things about you and things about where you have been in career wise and stuff that is actual factuals. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, do you want stuff that oh, you just say a lot of clever things, whatever, and the wordplay is kind of cool in a diss, or do you want those things that are direct hits to you, not jabs, but direct hits to you? And that's what I think. That was one big thing that came out of whatever we want to minimize Rayvon's diss to. He threw those stabs there. I just knocked the beat selection and choice coming off, like that G&X and Not Like Us and everything. I wish he would have chose a different route musically, but it is what it is. He's West Coast, whatever. But I
Right, right.
just, because of those records, and it's been kind of like, they want to hear something new as far as a diss. So I think that was the only mistake in that diss. But what he's saying is valid. Another thing, Reason. I think he had one of the better disses out of all of this. The beat changes, the points that he made, those are actual things. Joey's rapping and throwing niggas' names in it and saying like little clever stuff, but it's not enough to where I'm giving him credit to say, oh, he could body somebody and he should just sit still until Kendrick come back out. What has earned him that right so far? Just because, all right, you starting to rap,
He's
but
cooking.
he won. What have you won for it to be that arrogance of I'm just gonna chill until Kendrick pop back? What have you
Well,
won?
I think the fact that all of these people that's coming at him, you know, from Daylyt to, you know what I'm saying, which he kind of picked some of these, you know, these things go back months and months. But all these people
Mm,
that's coming at him, man, he's knocking them off like
yeah,
boom,
but
boom,
let's not
boom.
act like
So
these
I mean,
guys.
there's only so much you're gonna just go back and forth with somebody that you already beaten. So it's like once the people have decided that, yo, Joey's really, you know what I'm saying, Joey's really riding on them right now, he does need to sit back and chill and wait for the real competition. You know, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something that is unpopular. Oh, Leroy with the super chat. It says, "Peace to you, Mickey. The MC rappers really fear for sure." I think right now, and I know Kendrick just came out of this whole thing with Drake and this and that. The way that I hear Joey rhyming right now, like I know when somebody's in the zone and when somebody is in a special place. Joey's rapping at a level I haven't heard him rap. I don't I don't think Kendrick wants it with a rapper like that right now. There's no
No, I don't
reason
think
to.
Joey wants it with a
He's
rapper like
breaking
that.
records. He's breaking records on tour. You know what I mean? There's no reason to.
That's the thing. I don't. Joey wants it with that type of rapper right now because he knows what that does to what he propels. But you on Wax really don't want it with a rapper like that because look at where you are. And I'm not saying this career wise. I'm just saying as far as like who you're thinking about taking on and what that other individual just came off of. If he went at Drake, who was arguably wearing the crown in hip hop, right? Succeeded at that. What makes you think that you're going to be the person that knocked that off him just because you just stick your head out here and just say, I finally just want to rap? That's what I'm saying. What have you won, brother? What have you won?
Well, what do
Congratulations.
you expect? What do you
That's
expect
why I say I
from?
hate doing this because it makes me minimize dudes.
What do you expect from Joey though? That's the thing. Like,
No, I
cause
expect Joey to do exactly what Joey is doing.
right.
Keep it up. But what
No,
I'm
I'm just
saying
talking about
is,
from a body of work standpoint, right?
no,
Like,
and I hope that's what's to come. I hope that's what's to come next.
yeah,
But
I mean, it has to be. Honestly, I mean, at this point, you got to take this level of momentum, you know, to that next level. We just, you know, had a whole conversation about the fact that we're not in the era where people hold, you know, full bodies of work or albums as high as they once did because I feel like it's because we're in the streaming era, really. But when it comes down to, you know, you being even I don't want to say compared, but being matched up with somebody like Kendrick, who has made Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and has made Damn, you got to come with something that people can actually have in that conversation as well. You know what I mean? And this has to be the time to do it. And if you're rhyming at this level and you're, you know, building up this level of momentum, not just in the hip hop spaces, but for New York in general, this is the time to drop some real hot shit and pop your shit. You know what I'm saying? And I agree. Like, it sounds like based on this on the finals, sounds like he's ready to work his way up there and, you
yeah,
know, carry that weight. Because I think strategically what's going on is the fact that Rayvon jumping out there so early and so quickly played into Joey's hand. Now he's able to do this TD East talk and talk this and that and kind of talk like the way he's talking in the finals is Kendrick's too big for you guys. Like, he's too big for his own crew. He's turning that whole table on that where it's like, yeah,
that means nothing.
I'll
How
knock
many
out
people
the little guys.
who
No,
all
he's
try to
like,
divide and conquer? It's not.
well,
That's not a
not
new
even
tactic.
just a divide and conquer. Well, it is not
It
even a
is a
divide
divide.
and conquer in a sense where
Drake
they're
just
not
told
going
me
to change. They're not going to change on each other. That's not what I'm saying. He's isolating Kendrick, right? And he's making it where it's like, yeah, I done knocked off the little guys on the label. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, I've done more for your little guys on the label than you guys have done. They might as well sign the TD East. He's doing that. He's baiting the whole situation and isolating Kendrick even more than Kendrick's currently isolated. And I think it's a very smart move.
So here's another thing. Bro. Um, let's look at this Joey stuff and let's look at the the other side. We're acting like these guys all just stuck out and started dissing Joey. Joey dissed a whole collective. And so if these guys are the ones that's responding, let's not go, it's 20 versus 1. No, let's not do that because
No, I ain't saying that. I ain't saying that.
That's what he asked for.
Right? That's what he asked for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he asked for. So when that type of stuff happens, it's like, you know, I give you credit for wanting to be competitive. You know, for wanting to be competitive. But
he's doing it. He's not just wanting to, he's doing it.
But like I said, man, this is a good way to keep, if you keep the momentum, you keep it going, cool. But I just can't give you points, man, for this and say you won something yet, man. It's like, I like what you're doing, but it's like, yeah, I can't even say that, G. I can't say that. You know,
so you don't think he's beaten Rayvon so far?
I think he's holding his own, man. Those are two, you know, that's the thing about those two records. Those are two incomparable records, too. When you're trying to rate one over another, it's always going to be based off with those type of records. It's going to always be based off what coast you like the most, because they're two totally different sounds, two different. No, it is. Yes, it is.
Listen, I'm from the South, so I'm unbiased here. You know what I mean? Like, I love the East and West Coast.
You already have an East Coast bias, though. You do have an East Coast bias.
I call out East Coast bias. I don't have an East Coast bias.
But you are part of the East Coast bias as well, Mike.
How am I East Coast bias? I mean, I will say this.
I don't see you show love to anybody else on the West as much as you do for Snoop. As well as I don't see you show love for anybody else on the East as much as you do Nas.
No, what do you mean? No, I show love to Snoop, Ice Cube, The Game. Y'all sitting here telling me the games of the Black Slim Shady was trash.
It is ass.
I said Eminem doesn't want it with the Game.
I don't give you credit.
Eminem is afraid of the Game.
I don't give you credit for that because we know how you feel about Eminem. That's not because I have no feelings about Eminem. It's just facts.
I have no feelings about Eminem.
How much you hate him?
Everything I say about Eminem is just factual stuff. He's a pop star who only battles pop artists, and when the Game came around, he was afraid. Christopher Hogan with the super chat says, "What verse did Joey kill Rayvon with?" The finals. Again, I love the West Coast, man, and I think that I've even said Tupac's better than Biggie. I said that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have an East Coast bias. The truth is, the East Coast just have more, and, you know, from a quantity and quality standpoint, per capita, they got better lyricists than everybody else. It's
and that's subjective. That's subjective. What we talk about.
That's just the truth.
We really said about subjectivity when it comes to lyricism when we talked about Pac and we talked about all the facts of the matter still remains. West Coast never stopped rapping. Midwest never stopped rapping. South never stopped rapping. New York, they got sturdy.
New York didn't stop rapping. I think the style of what was popular in hip hop changed, and not everybody in New York was willing to adjust with it. I think that's what happened. But again, if we talking about just straight up MCs and straight up lyricists, man, I mean, other regions can't compete with, you know, New York specifically. I mean, it just is what it is. You know, if we look at the top 20 MCs all time, body of work, you know, lyricism, hit rap, whatever. I mean, a bulk of them come from the East Coast. It just is what it is. There's no bias there. I mean, and I'm not even showing any bias here. If Rayvon would have came with some heat, he came with some heat. But I think that, let me get real critical on his record then, since, you know, it's a bias going on. I think that, it came too quickly. I think that he tried to go out there and do what Kendrick did on Not Like Us. I think that it sounded unoriginal. I think that it wasn't the right response for that individual. I think what people need to understand is Not Like Us worked because Kendrick had other records. You know what I'm saying? If Not Like Us would have been Kendrick's first and only response, I don't think it would have worked in the same way it did. You need Euphoria. You needed was it 616 in LA? You needed Meet the Grams. Those things set up Not Like Us. if he would have just came with that, and we're talking about against Drake, I don't think it hits the same. Christopher Hogan with the super chat says, "Nah, mine, it's like, nah, mine come down to New Orleans. I'll put our underground lyricists against any New York lyricist, and I love New York rappers. You know what? New Orleans has some very original MCs. I will say that. But yeah, I mean, I just and that's no disrespect. I just think that Rayvon should have came a little harder. I think he should have thought about it a little longer. And really, the person that's disappointing in all of this, in my personal opinion, is Daylyt. I think that Daylyt didn't choose the right beat. I think that Daylyt should have. I like
the beat.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I think even again, if we're talking about beat selection, Joey's rapping over the best two beats of this whole thing. I mean, the Cypher and the finals. I mean, he just did.
What does it sound like to you, Mike?
It sounds like a dope beat. Is what it sounds like.
No, why do you like that beat? So why do you like those beats so much, Mike?
I think they're dope beats. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, listen, Rayvon ain't rhyme over no deep cover and no shit like that. Like, really, if we want to talk about production, and again, I've been honest about this on the show too. Dr. Dre's the greatest hip hop producer of all time. He's not from the East Coast. Those guys made some of the best beats ever. Period. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that I like the beat because it sounds like an East Coast beat. I don't know. I mean, it's just a dope beat, you know? And I think that Joey did the best job of selecting production for this. I think that Daylyt should have taken heed to some of the things that Mickey said and actually went on, you know, one of these platforms, whether it be LA Leakers or Flex or whatever, and just rhyme right there to kind of set this thing off and get a response from there and then come with a record.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't like the beat that Rayvon chose just because it's following after the Kendrick stuff. But let's keep it. You like those Joey ones because it seems more similar to boom bap. It sounds like the traditional boom bap NYC hip hop. That is.
Nah, I mean, because again, man,
why are we not talking about Ab or Big Sean's verses on that as much? Is it because just Joey was dissing? What makes that verse
better? It was. I mean, and I love Episdoe. Episdoe's actually my favorite TDE member, but and again,
his best efforts was in finals.
I don't want to say this in a disrespectful way, but I'm just gonna be real here. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. Hold on, let me say this, and I'm gonna get to your super chat, LP. Big Sean is officially the Ludacris of his era, you know, and it's like he can go out there and display, you know, a dope dope rhymes or whatever, but when somebody like Joey comes in with a verse that he came with, just similar to what Kendrick did on Control, it's like, you know, the witty punchlines, they don't stand up to those things. And I mean, we just saw it again with the Cypher. It's not like his verse was bad at all. It was a dope verse. But the scene stealer here was Joey. LP with the super chat says, Savon, the facts are Ray and Day saying that Joey isn't. He's at home. What facts are Ray and Day saying that Joey isn't? I'm sorry, thanks. What facts are Ray and Day saying that Joey isn't? He has plaques. He's giving them shine. He had rebuttals, clever writing, clear shots. If Joey is word salad, what Day just do? What we missing? Yeah. What's your critique on Joey in that way?
I mean, you guys are reacting like I'm saying that Joey stuff is whack. But what I'm gonna say, there's valid points there. There's stuff that the points has made about New York there. There's a point about his efforts in music. There's points that's being made of who was holding NY down at that time. You're dissing a whole collective, and a collective that has put together some of the best rhymers of this generation, objectively, right? And so when you make these type of points, and these are the same, basically they're saying damn near the same stuff that I was just telling Mickey on here. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys don't see that and what they're saying is, then you guys are just listening to just have a favorite and who you guys want to favor and back that. What has Joey said that is beyond the fact of just the surface? You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, this is still early to me. And I feel like when you compare Joey to Ray, it's different type of music, different type of whatever. So people are going to see that differently. You know, and like I said, you have to listen to what's being said. It's not nothing that's going real deep on each side. They're still keeping it on wax. They're keeping it competitive, but the points that is coming from that other side versus Joey is very strong, bro. And like I said, if you don't think that, especially in reasons this, you know what I'm saying? Especially in reasons this. Like if you guys don't see that, and I was able to word what I thought about just my opinions on the trajectory of hip hop for NY, then I don't see what you guys are listening to. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
I really
all right. Let's look. The elephant in the room here is, I guess, if we're talking from, and this is what makes this whole thing interesting. If we're talking from a mainstream standpoint, you know, New York hasn't been on top from a mainstream standpoint, let's just say since 50 Cent, I guess, if you will, as far as somebody dominating the mainstream with what we know of as New York hip hop. You've had some hits here and there. You've had summer anthems here and there, damn near every year, whatever. You've had some underground stuff, which I think is great, and mixtape stuff, sure. But at the end of the day, all that being said, if Joey's challenging these guys today and ready to go toe-to-toe with a whole label today, then it should be no problem to take him down.
I respect it.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the fact that he's willing to stand on that, and I mean, much like the current New York Knicks squad that we see now, like this ain't the Knicks that we've been seeing for the past 20 years. And if Joey feels like, you know what, I'm ready to stand up on that, and I'm gonna take out all of these guys one by one, which looks like what he's doing. I mean, I think we just kind of gotta wait and see. But based on how he sounds,
that's what I say. You can't hype it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't want to hear about past victories of New York. And you know, me calling out, and that's why I'm saying me calling out facts about New York in the music state, right? I can't speak about anything else, the culture of New York. I can only speak about what I've heard musically coming out of New York for the last 20 some odd years. And what I can say objectively is it hasn't been it, bro. And I think anybody else can agree who's want to be objective about things. And so, yeah, it's a breath of fresh air that you have somebody that's willing to compete. But your artist that you could have been backing, I was gonna probably make some noise for you guys. New York didn't even get behind. So
I think a lot of that is, and we've talked about this on shows before. I think that's about the politics, and I think New York radio has a lot to do with the demise of those things. But saying all that to say, I don't know how I feel about Reason going at New York in that way, when if it's like that, he should have been able to go at Joey that way. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like
why not?
From a positioning standpoint, it sounds like what Reason's doing is he's not willing to say those things about Joey directly, because those same things could be said about him, but he's leaning on the success of other people from that coast. You know what I mean?
No, not solely. I mean, are you guys listening to music, or are y'all skimming through it? Like in the first verses, in the first verse alone, like he's talking about the position of how Joey's seeing, like is seeing himself going against those type of artists. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's hints of them talking about jealousy or wanting to be in certain places or whatever, and that's the reason why you took shots at who you took shot at, like Dot and all of them. Daylyt even hinted at that too. It's just like, I don't think it's a jealousy thing. I do think it's competitive, but it's just like, come on, man, like. Let's keep it a stack here. A lot of those points are proven, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with what Joey's doing at all. I don't think it's nothing wrong.
Is Reason the person to say this, though?
You said what now?
Is Reason the person to say this, though? Like I said, I think that if he would have just went at, because he can't claim the successes of the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not one of those guys who are bringing that trophy home either. You know what I mean? Like you're basically, and I say this respectfully, but you're kind of like the guy who isn't really a part of the starting five out here, you know what I'm saying, going at a star player on a 5th seed team because y'all won a championship. You know what I'm saying? It's because if he wants to go one-on-one and say these things with Joey,
he has more stake in the game what he has been doing recently than Joey has been doing in the last 10 years.
Man, Max with the Super Chat says, how can Ray and Reason talk about New York when they have no music? If Dot or Soul or Q said these lines, it could be taken seriously. Reason and Ray don't have music. Spice has more songs than than them. Get Dot on the phone. Mad Max is turned up.
He could be turned up, but those guys have more recent
understand.
bodies
No,
of work.
Mad Max making
Both of them
valid
have,
points.
but no, he doesn't, because both of those two guys have more recent work than what Joey has. Joey doesn't have any recent work like that.
Well, like Joey said, man, most people can't name any of their songs. I mean, and I know he says that, from a
If you talk to a lot of hip hop fans, there's going to be a lot of them that can't name Joey songs. So, like I said, it's subjective.
Who do you think has more notoriety here?
Not like Joey's, not like Joey. Don't act like Joey's name is ringing off out here like that outside of power, bro. He's unique to niggas right now. He has to remind people he just happens to rap. He's unique right now.
Joey stuff. Pro era, they got a name out here. But yeah, I mean, listen,
that was I'll tell you this. We're in 2025, bro. What have you done for me lately? I'm not going to keep him giving
he's doing it right now.
About where it's at.
What have Reason and Rayvon done in that way, though? I mean, even if you want to say Joey hasn't given you anything lately per se, do you think that from a legacy standpoint, these guys have surpassed Joey in what he's done in his career thus far?
I don't think no one surpasses the other, like I said, for them right now, because I don't think that anybody has done enough to put them on a further plateau. But when it comes to somebody who's more recent, these guys have been actually moving more than what Joey has been doing, man. It's just facts or facts.
I give Joey credit.
Sticking his neck back out there and he's doing it. And I'll give him credit and I like what he's doing. But what I'm saying is we acting like this guy won something, G.
He's definitely winning right now. Christopher Hogan with the super chat says Rayvon just dropped a dope album. Yeah. Facts. What was I gonna say? Oh, before we get on to the next topic, I know this wasn't on our sheet or whatever, but what did you think about Fat Joe saying that Kendrick Lamar is the biggest West Coast rapper? West Coast artist ever, just based on, him being out there in LA and hearing Kendrick's whole album, I guess, on the radio.
How can he say that? And we got a guy named Tupac.
And you got a guy named MC Hammer, too. I mean, that really, Kendrick bigger than MC Hammer?
They don't put him, because they don't break him as an MC. He's a West Coast artist.
He is. And he didn't even say MC. I'll say this, man. Based on how Fat Joe was measuring that, and again, this is me being unbiased here. You could pull that whole card and say the same thing for New York artists, right? Let's just say that Fat Joe used that same barometer and threw Kendrick in New York. You know what I mean? Like, he could have just said in hip hop in general. He didn't even have to make it a West Coast thing. Because based on what he's saying, Kendrick bigger than Jay-Z too, right? Based on how he was framing that.
But he said the West.
But I'm saying that could have applied to anybody. Why even say the West? You know what I mean?
I mean, he was specifically talking about the West, man, but he was wrong.
Yeah. He was wrong. But I'm saying that's where this East Coast bias stuff comes from, because people will take somebody having a huge moment, there's a historic moment, period, and they'll marginalize it to a certain region. You know what I mean? Like when Wayne went out there selling 1 million in a week and Wayne was the hottest thing in the game, period. You can't just say, hey, Wayne is what he's doing is the biggest thing I've ever seen in the South. Like, nah, this is the biggest thing you ever seen, period. You know what I mean? Like, why even marginalize it to the West Coast? That was my thought too, because again, you could apply this to people in the East Coast also. But yeah, again,
the reason I don't want to go that far, I don't even know what the context of that whole conversation was. I didn't view the whole episode. I seen that clip, and when I was saying, I was like, all I can say is he's wrong. Like he is one of the biggest, but nobody has topped Pac yet. From impact to legacy body of work, because a lot of these guys, they're still going, man. It's Pac is just one of one, and I don't see nobody surpassing that yet. So he got we'll see what it plays out later on, but yeah, as of now, Joey's wrong.
And when it came down to people like Tupac and Snoop as well, because I don't want to skip over what Snoop did in 1992 and 3, because until 96, Snoop was the biggest rapper in the game. I mean, Biggie himself, he was like, trying to sell records like Snoop. But they had the system going against them, like in ways that I don't feel like Kendrick has right now. I think Kendrick he's an artist that the system is cool with, right? Like he is getting support from every outlet and every medium that there is in ways that Tupac and Snoop just didn't. So I think it's an unfair comparison anyway.
It's unfair comparison, and like I said, I don't even. That's why I said I don't like certain statements made on certain platforms, because I just feel like guys just be saying stuff and they be hot button topics, and it gets you the clips for people like us to talk about them. And
Well, what does the next wave of hip hop need to look like? Is this battle that we're seeing, from I guess a grassroots standpoint with battle rappers and established, signed artists? Is that the next wave? What does the next wave look like for hip hop and where we're going right now?
it's an element that battle and what's going on with that and joining on them. That's an element that we need. You know what I'm saying? That's an element that is very well supposed to exist in hip hop. But you also have to come with everything else of the culture that what hip hop has evolved in. Like, let's get fashion back in hip hop. I feel like streetwear has died, bro. Like, let's get fashion back into the wave of things. Let's get the music and the sound of different regions being original from where they're from to sound like again. I want to hear that. Regional music has died. Like, now we can't even tell who anybody is from. I just heard a record from somebody recently, and I didn't even know where they were from. And when I learned where they were from, I was like, oh shit, would never thought. So it's like to know where artists is from and them having their own flavor that they're bringing from their regions or wherever they're from. I think that matters. I think everything is kind of being lumped into one, and so I want us to get back to that. But I like us getting to the grassroots, but people bringing their own style. And that's what I think that's the biggest glaring thing of this with this battle with Joey. Joey brings that traditional New York hip hop sound, but you have Rayvon that gives that sound. You have Daylyt gives. Everybody having their own style is what will make this dope.
You mentioned fashion, right? And I think the person that's about to have the biggest release or biggest rollout is from New York. A$AP Rocky. A$AP Rocky is about to have, or he is already having, possibly the biggest rollout that we've seen in hip hop in a minute. And I believe he's going to have the music to match it. I think for once, we're probably going to get a record with him and Rihanna. Probably the first time, since they've been together in this way. And I think it's going to be a big deal. But to speak to fashion and things like that, it's going to take hip hop artists who are known as, fashionistas, if you will, to actually change some of those things. Because streetwear and hip hop is done. And to me, when we think about it, and maybe I'm taking it back too far, fashion and hip hop really took a hit when music videos stopped being on television. Like there was a time when people would take their cues from, the music videos that they would see on television on what to wear, how to wear their hair, what accessories to rock, whether we're rocking throwbacks, whether we're rocking, button-ups or whatever. And with the visuals no longer being in your face in that way, and you have to search for them on YouTube or whatever, I think that hip hop fashion, it's in a different place. I think people are just going to kind of have to go with more so social media posts for their fashion cues, and it doesn't really move the same as it does if it's in motion with music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do hope A$AP has a big year. I like what he's doing as far as like getting into acting. I think that movie is going to be one of the biggest of the year whenever that comes. And because how you get a bad movie in this day and age, Spike Lee, Denzel Washington. It's like you have an alley right there. That's your alley. You know, that's dope.
Yeah.
But he has the advantage over a lot of rappers with rollouts, like you said, coming off that trial, because what hip hop like to celebrate these days. But coming off that trial, the movie, I think it lines up for him to have a very good year musically. Let's see what happens. But you know, when I say hip hop regional, I think people confuse movements with regions, because we can name movements like drill, whatever, but we know what that comes from. And when other places like New York, or even down here in the South, some Southern rappers even are hopped on some drill, you know. So when you hear that, or you hear new Detroit sound of music, you hear certain rappers sound like that. Sometimes I can't tell if they Detroit or West Coast. You know,
Right.
we're confusing a movement of a type of sound with the region, with what each region is bringing. You know, like we know where hyphy came from. We know where snap music came from. We know where drill came from. We know where that boom bap sound comes from. Like these are things that was been meshed well, and other people have adopted it and did stuff with it. But it became a point that the movement have overseeded what the regional sound is, because everybody's all using the same shit. You
Yeah.
know, I can tell
It's the internet.
too. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Remember, there was a time in hip hop when niggas was calling like all the new rappers Lils. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, come on, man. Like I
It's a
don't like that.
copycat league, you know, and I think that even though I don't like it, thumbs up in the chat, everybody. We're gonna continue to talk about some other stuff. Even though I don't love it, Not Like Us kind of showed that it is a copycat league again. I mean, you hear people making songs similar to it, making approaches similar to it. But I think when you get those things, it kind of puts a identity on what era we're in. But you're right. It's no longer regional. It's more so movements. And you're not going to really know where anybody's from. People are just going to go with sounds that work. And I think that the drawback from there no longer being regional music is the fact that music kind of stays stagnant, and individual regions used to be the ones to sprinkle in a new flavor into the game. Like New
Mhm.
Orleans would have a flavor that they bringing into the game. You know what I mean? Atlanta would come and do what it's doing. Houston would come and do what it's doing. And it had just changed the way everybody approaches things. Whereas now, who are we really looking to give us a different flavor of what's going on? People are kind of sounding like whatever works. And that's why I love, even with Snoop's new album, like he's really staying true to himself on this album, and you hear Snoop on this album, but I don't know what people's individual identities look like, you know, moving forward. Somebody's just to get creative. And to me, I think that starts with the producers, really. DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, I'm sorry, Joe was right. He said biggest run. Okay, hold
Oh, if it
on.
was big,
Between the
that's what
battle sweep, he said between the battle, sweeping the Grammys, the Super Bowl tour, and GNX, who had a bigger run? All in one year. He's had 4 number one hits since. And I agree with that, DJ Bruce Almighty. But again, where I disagree is he said West Coast artists. That could be applied to anybody. He should have just said in hip hop in general. You know what I'm saying? Like to just marginalize it like the biggest West Coast artist ever based on this run. Okay, well, looking at what you just said with this run between the battle, sweeping the Grammys, the Super Bowl, the tour, GNX, and having 4 number ones or whatever. Who else can we say did that? Period.
Yeah, but they were talking the West Coast. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, you could apply that. You could apply that to that conversation as well. I mean, either way, I still, if I like I said, I gotta go view it to see what it is. But based on what you guys said, if that was the case, if he's saying who's the biggest out of West, you know, I don't see anybody surpassing, Pac right now. But you know, their stories are still being written. Pac's is over, unfortunately. So who
Yeah.
knows what it's gonna be like for Kendrick when all said is done, you know?
I never thought that Kendrick would have a surge like this, especially after Mr. Morale. I mean, you guys have heard me on this platform speaking since 2020, some of you. And I thought that Kendrick's best days were actually behind him because of how long he was waiting to release his next effort. Because Damn It come out at the time, it was 2017. We were going into them like a 4 or 5 year hiatus, if you will. And I just thought that, we've seen the biggest moments from Kendrick, and I was wrong. And so I never thought this run was going to happen anyway. But I think that it's an amazing run. And shit, I didn't think Nas was going to have that run that he did either. So, you can never count out greatness. And what Kendrick's doing is incredible. Selling out city to city. And yeah, I can only congratulate that. Now, moving forward, I wonder how that influence or just opening those doors really help the next era of hip hop artists. Are they going to, walk through those doors or, create their own paths?
I think it's best for you to create your own path, but I think the best thing that anybody could do now is be original and come with something different and fresh. Because I think if you come with any bullshit right now, nobody's gonna fuck with it.
Yep.
And that, just being honest right now, it's like coming off the Kendrick thing, and it's making people focus back on actually dissecting lyrics. Then you can't come with no BS now. And that's why I said I have to give Joey credit, because he's actually rapping, bro. Like, out of all of them are rapping, whether you like it or not. These guys are rapping, bring their own style. You know what I'm saying? So this is what rapping looks like. Especially
Joey talking about what he say. He was like, I ain't even gotta I ain't gotta open up the magazine to give you this issue. I forgot to press this issue or something to that degree. But yeah, that's what I love about when it comes to competitive rap or battle, whatever you want to call it. It forces people to be somewhat lyrical and pay attention to what they're saying, in ways where in other free-flowing forms of hip-hop, you can kind of just say whatever's cool or whatever's hot. And, I think there's a conscious effort when it comes to competitive rap to really be focused in on what you're saying lyrically.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I like that. With one thing that we could take all this battle, all these disses, whatever, is like everybody's coming with their own flavor of what their style is when they're rapping, and you guys are to decide who's better or whatnot. And like I said, we have to appreciate this for what it is, because it's people back to rapping, and it makes it hard for when you guys want to push this forward for any BS to slip through the cracks, man. But I think what next is to follow, because we're getting the battles. I think people are going to grow tired of it a little bit. Let's have the songs to follow. Let's have the battles.
Yeah, you got to have the material to follow. You know what I'm saying? It's shine time. It ain't no time
to the essence of what hip hop is, but keeping it in the bodies of music too. And I think that's where we get this new wave of people putting those same efforts and how good they're rapping against each other into the music.
We got to keep it hot, man. Are you I don't know if we've ever talked about this before. I know Leroy Green is a huge Common fan, as am I. B is celebrating 20 years this year. It's one of my favorite albums, period. My favorite Common album. I think it's his best album. It's actually I think it's Kanye's finest moment as a producer as well. Well, they announced that the 20th anniversary edition of B is going to feature 11 unreleased songs. Now, the album B itself is 11 songs. So I don't know what to think about this. I mean, I can't wait to hear the songs. I think Kanye produced 11 songs. Kanye produced 8 out of the 11, and the other 3 with Dilla. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I think what we're probably going to hear from these 11 unreleased might be similar makeup, right? It might be a similar where it's like 8 Kanye produced and 3 Dilla. Saying all that to say, depending on what we hear from some of these unreleased, I think that makes an album even more impressive, that you cut half of the album and you made the right cuts and you came with a classic piece of work. To me, that's probably the most difficult thing to do in the album making process, is once you're in a zone like that and making quality music to that degree, to actually cut songs, because I'm sure these songs are good.
I actually like B. B was a dope album to me. What worries me about this is dope for the fans. What worries me about this is if any of those records are Kanye produced, because we just don't know where Kanye is right now, and I don't want that moment to be ruined because Kanye said him releasing unreleased
Oh,
music.
he's coming.
That's what I don't want to happen. But I think it's dope for the fans, and it's dope for common fans and all of us that enjoyed the B album.
Westside Runner with the super chat says this Kendrick run is manufactured. Homie's music ain't ringing off in the streets like that. This run ain't bigger than Wayne, 50, Ye, Pac, Big, or Jay. What do you say to that, song?
He's selling out stadiums. That's not manufactured. Those ain't robots in the seats, man. Those arguments are just so whack, bro. Appreciate you, though, Westside Runner, but those things are just getting whack. Who we don't hear in the streets.
Why do you think people feel like that, though? You know what I'm saying? Like we hear that.
You know why? Because these are things you do against people you don't like listening to. And me and you, no, you wasn't even on it, on Rhymes and Reasons, or even in our chat, we've established that if you look at the charts and what's charting musically, that's not a soundtrack of what people are really listening to in the streets. I've been to 2 or 3 different clubs over this weekend.
Okay.
None of
what did you hear while you were outside?
They didn't hear, they was damn near playing anything that's current. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like what the charts have listed of whatever they have most play, blah, blah, blah. Those are not really the songs that are resonating with the culture outside of what people are listening to. There's the internet, whatever the internet's saying it is, and then there's actually outside, bro. There's really out there with the people. And out there with the people, they're not playing a bunch of that stuff that's on the charts. They're not. You know what I'm saying? But to say that, because we don't hear him outside, blah, 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 well, if the same way you try to use that to Kendrick, you can say that about a lot of these artists that are people favorites.
Well,
I don't hear Joey outside. I don't hear Daylyt outside. I don't hear Rayvon outside. Like, there's a lot of artists that are doing things or in certain spaces that we really don't hear outside.
Well, all right. So if this stuff that's on the charts isn't getting played outside, where is it getting played?
The internet.
The internet?
It's the internet, man. I feel like the internet and real life is two different things, bro. Like the internet lets TikTok songs be the soundtrack to whatever is going on the internet, blah, blah, blah. Outside that's different. With the people,
do you think that the internet is easier to manipulate than outside, though? And maybe that's why people feel like that?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The Kendrick thing is a phenomenon because the numbers are crazy. The tour number. I think that when you have pandemonium going on and you have a run like this and the hype is built up so much, even if it didn't start off quote unquote organic and that's subjective, it becomes organic. I don't believe, let me be careful with this. I believe initially Michael Jackson might have started calling the paparazzi to, on himself and things like that to create a stir. But after a while, it was real. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the industry does those kind of things just to get the ball rolling and get this snowball going. But once it's going, and it is real at that point. The Beatles managed to buy records for them to bump up the numbers. It happens.
But this is one thing I do want to say to dispel whatever this Kendrick's not outside thing. Every time I get in the car, there's 3 different Kendrick records going. When I go out, there's at least going to be 1 or 2 of those newer Kendrick records is going to be played. You're going to hear Drake's Nokia record too. And you're going to hear Gunna. You're going to hear the new Key Glock somewhere. You're going to hear Big X the Plug. You're going to hear the Lady records. You're going to hear them play, Glorilla, stuff like that. But that's where the buck stops, bro. You're going to always hear Future. You're always going to hear some type of artist. The rest of the music that's being played out here is old stuff. Stuff from when I was in college, stuff from whatever. They're not really playing a lot of current music. So that so-and-so is not outside argument, that got to stop because a man doesn't sell out stadiums and not be heard outside or not being listened to in some form or fashion. Like I said, that's not manufactured. But like I said, the most of the things that are really being heard outside is not the newest current music like that. Because a lot of this stuff is not slapping like how people say it is.
And
It is what it
yeah.
is.
Am I gone? Hold on. My camera
You have
went out.
froze.
I'm in a frozen state. Hold on 1 second.
Because like with the Kendrick thing, like if do people really look at how much those tickets cost? For somebody who don't really like somebody, I don't see or don't listen to them like that. I don't see you paying over $500 something just to say I just want to be a part of the moment. Like for me to spend that type of money, I actually like your music. People got to stop the foolishness.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. It's a fair argument. Hold on 1 second. Am I good? Yeah. Hold up, Savon.
It's you, Mike. It's always you.
Oh, it is always me. Hold on. I don't know what just happened. All right, there we go. We good. Hold on. Well, at least
Mac problems, brother.
Gotta get some damn juice.
Yes, sir.
Now I was working with this new camera. All right. Can you hear me at least?
Yeah. We can't see you.
Let me get out and jump back in real quick. That should be good. Let me see. But all right, listen. What does Kendrick's audience look like? And I think that was a question that somebody asked me the other day, and I was like, that's a good question. In your opinion, what does Kendrick's audience look like? I mean, I know you've probably seen footage of some of these concerts.
Yeah, it's a melting pot, bro. In Atlanta, I seen black folks. I even seen black other celebrities and artists showing up there as well. Niggas was swag surfing in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? It just,
Right.
I think when you're looking at these concerts and like when he's doing the stops and you're looking at everything, I think it's just a representation of the people that's there. You know, I just seen he was in Seattle. Like I said, like people are not paying over $500 for tickets for somebody who they don't really listen to. And I think there's a melting pot of people he appeals to. And just because he's not all the trap fans and all this doing there, or it's not all the girls, blah, blah, blah. People want to try to pigeonhole a person who can't pigeonhole. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. Like, he appeals to multiple people. And like I said, man, it's crazy how we do this to hip hop artists because they don't like them, but we complain about the artists that don't get notoriety or whatever. Isn't this what you want of artists? Like, don't you want them to be able to go and sell out stadiums in hip hop? Don't you want them to be able to like reinvigorate what keeps hip hop like fresh and whatever? If not, if this Kendrick and Drake battle never happened, the same sound will be lingering on to the 2025 and there would be no change and whatever. If that sound never happened, right? So
that's
it's like
not what we want. You know what I'm saying? What we want, hold on. What we want is for our hip hop artists to stay underground, stay hungry. You know what I'm saying? We want them to never blow up, and we want them to come to us throughout the duration of their career. That's what we want. But speaking of which, again, 20th anniversary of Commons B album. I want to hear these songs that were cut. And I do think that we're probably going to get a bulk of the Kanye West stuff that, that was on the chopping block. And I think it'll be a real interesting listen to see why some of these records didn't make it. I feel like I may have heard like one or two songs from that era that didn't make it on the album. I don't know if that's part of the 11, but for an album with 11 songs on it, I can't think of a re-release that's had so many unreleased songs on it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really impressive.
Kanye always have a lot of unreleased joints, like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like what we got from release. There was a lot of unreleased stuff. There's a lot of these little pages that always be dropping people that had unreleased stuff, man, and it'll just show you why some of it was meant to be unreleased and why some of it, damn, we wish we would have got that if they would have came out with. So I don't know about that fully.
I mean, Mike D from the Beasties, the real Mike D, always said, there's a reason why stuff is unreleased. It wasn't good
Yeah.
enough. But I do feel like that sometimes, and Prince used to do this a lot, sometimes certain songs just don't fit on certain efforts. And maybe, well, unreleased is unreleased. That means that it wasn't on anything. Maybe it was intended for other albums that just never happened. And we do see that when it comes to Kanye, that he totally flipped his sound moving forward. And after Finding Forever, him and Common didn't really work together again. I really wish we could get a Common and Kanye album again, but I think this is the closest that we're going to get. I mean, I don't think people want that in the current state. But what it used to be, if we could get more of that, sure. But this is our only ability to do that. And so, to have 11 unreleased, I think that's a gift. But like you said, I anticipate that Ye's going to have something to say about it. But I will say this. He really respects Common. And even all the rants that Ye has gone on about other people and other artists that he used to collab with, he's never really went there with Common, because I think he understands how much Common means to Chicago and how much Common means for his career. And there's a level of respect there all around. So I'm looking forward to the release. And I might need to get that shit on vinyl, because I don't have B on vinyl. And that's one of my favorite albums that I don't have on vinyl.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's just like, like you said, unreleased should be unreleased, man. Because I remember we was in the chat. I threw the unreleased Jay-Z Bounce record with the Kanye hook and the different beat.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, I'm glad that never was released.
Some artists do approach unreleased from this wasn't good enough, I had to change it standpoint. And others, it's like, this just didn't fit, I'm gonna save it for later type thing. You just never know. Because again, Nas is one of those artists where his unreleased shit is fire.
Big got some unreleased joints that ended up on different records or whatever, but like beat behind them, and some of those are still dope. But like I said, like certain unreleased joints is meant to be unreleased. Like for example, I heard unreleased verse Lil Kim Big Mama thing, and she's dissing Pac. And I was like,
I ain't heard that.
It was a response to Hit 'Em Up. She drops a line about who shot you and a Dear Mama line on or whatever. And I was just like, it's best they let her respond with that. Because it brings questions up about was Who Shot You really about Pac. With her,
I don't care what anyone said. Look,
with her using that line or whatever, I think there's a reason why they didn't release it. But it is this. It is this. It's real.
I'm gonna say this, man.
Mama thing is a dope record too. So.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, I'm gonna say this, man. When it comes to that whole narrative that who shot you and being about Pac and this and that, look, if it wasn't about Pac, the timing of them releasing that record was very poor, and at the very least, they were utilizing a bad situation to promote their own record, and that's messed up. You know what I'm saying? And even if it wasn't quote unquote about the man or directed at the man, it was the circumstances around what had happened and just having it out there in the eyes of the public. Is this about him or is it not about him? They use that. Whether they want to sit there and, claim that or admit that or not, they use that to promote the record, which is just as bad as it being about him anyway.
They was slick with it, man.
It's grimy, man.
Good night too. So
what's that?
Biggie also had the record "Long Kiss Goodnight" that they said it wasn't for.
No, that was clearly about Pac.
But they were slick with it.
Yeah, man. But again, that's bad business, man. I don't like that. You know what I mean? And I think that those are things. Go ahead.
I said it was because of the take that, man.
Well, I'm not just gonna totally blame Puff, but he could have stopped all this. Real talk. What? I guess we could speak on the trial. I don't know what the updates on the trial is today,
I didn't
but
see the date. I didn't see the new updates either. I
I'll
seen
say
Don.
this, man, just based on what I'm seeing on the trial so far, um, you know, I don't think anybody's looking good, right? I don't think that Cassie's testimony made Puff look worse than he already did. I think it made her look like a willing participant in many ways, and
Looked like
I
she
think,
implicated herself too.
yeah, and I feel like the defense is also going to utilize her testimony to show how she was an opportunist in this situation, and how she had many opportunities to leave and didn't because she didn't want to leave the bag. I mean, just be point blank honest about it. And that's not anybody forcing you to do anything. I mean, it's terrible manipulation and all of those things, but
I don't even know
forcing,
how to judge it at this point. You know, I mean,
what's
because
that?
both of them, I said I don't even know how to judge it at this point because both would seem to be like on some bad shit. You know what I'm saying? It seems like they were on some sexual deviant stuff. Puff was abusive. It also seemed like both of them couldn't keep their hands off one another. And I just don't
Drug,
know. I don't even know how to gauge this, bro. They both just don't seem to be good people, but it's not. That's not what they're on trial for. I mean, what Puff's on
right?
trial for. And you know, like I said on Rhymes and Reason, it's not about like what we personally think about him opinion wise. It's about what they can prove. That's all that matters in court. And
Yeah,
I don't know how this is gonna go right now. I don't even have a dog in that fight or take anybody's side, but simply just going off what they have presented so far, it just seems like they're dirty in his character and making him seem more like a domestic abuser more than the things that he's being charged for. So I guess I'm looking for them to reel it in and see what they're gonna do with it. I don't know if anybody have an upper hand right now. It's just like it's all just like a pile on fest of how bad can we make this guy seem more of a monster than the actual crime. So it's interesting, very polarizing trial, but it's weird to me. Even with all the facts coming out the way they are and the people uh being witnesses and all that, and I'm like, how did so many people see all this stuff and stay quiet for so long? But now it's time for him to be on trial. Everybody is willing to be a witness. It's just weird, man.
yeah,
Um, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what who did what. I wasn't there for any of it. It's just weird. It's just like I don't think both of them are great people at all. I think there's a bit of rage and jealousy and a bit of like you said, going after the bag that's there. And I also feel like there was some abuse and there was some sick stuff that Diddy was doing. And I feel like the other half, there was a lot of stuff she was a willing participant and down for out of her voluntary right to want to do so. And then, pick and choose when it's so negative or whatever. And I think one of the glaring moments of that were those text messages that were exposed and the
yeah,
prosecution just showing a little bit of it. And then when the defense present all of it, it gives more context. And that's why I say perspective is everything. And I think before we actually give an opinion about how certain things play out, we got to sit back and look at the facts and see how it plays out, because Diddy's guilty of something, but is he guilty of exactly what he's being charged with is another conversation. So like, I have
right.
no.
And again, that sets a bad precedence if someone is found guilty for something because you feel like they're guilty of something else that they weren't charged for. I mean, that's just not how the justice system works. But it'll be interesting to see, how this develops, because this is obviously a marathon. They're projecting this trial to be 2 months long or something. So we're only 1 week in. Don Richard she was on the stand today. I hadn't
Yeah,
got caught up on,
let me see
saying,
what that's what it look like on that. I have not caught up on any of the stuff with her being on stand. I know one of the things they did say is she witnessed him beating Cassie, and he approached her and the other group member about not saying anything, not mentioning it, which is kind of weird that she's seen this and and have accounts of all these things that happened, but you stayed in a group with them. And
Pretty Dirty Money. Yeah.
yeah, you stayed in a group with them, and then on top of that, you seen all this, but your other group mate didn't see all of this, and it's just kind of like I don't know who to believe anymore, who has motive out of like revenge or whatever. I don't know what to believe. I don't think he's fully innocent of shit. I don't think he's innocent at all. But like with these people that are giving testimony and witnesses, man, I just don't think they're just as credible either because a lot of them was a part of some BS or seen some BS, didn't say nothing, didn't do nothing while it was beneficial for them. And when it comes to time, that's when everybody want to pile on. And I just feel like they're just as rotten as the person that was doing it when you sat back and it was cool along with you was on the payroll, but now you're not. You get to like, act everything out. They're acting like Diddy was just such a mastermind. And you mean to tell me like all these security guards, all these bodyguards, y'all so scared of Diddy that y'all seen all this stuff go down and y'all didn't intervene. But now every time I get on YouTube is one of you guys doing an interview or whatever. Y'all was that scared of Diddy? I don't get
It's
it.
different now, I
It's
guess.
one thing when it's a woman, but it's like, come on, you had grown men saying, I've seen Puff do this, seen Puff do that. What did y'all do? It's weird to me, bro. I don't know. We'll see how it
Christopher
plays
Elton
out.
with the super chat says, Diddy staff and bodyguards is testifying against him. That's why it's a one-man RICO. They're taking Profor deal. He cooked. The prosecution's deal, I think. Mad Max with the super chat says, Kiss Son just bodied the West. Uh-oh. Got a new song out there. Check that out in a second when we get off of here. What I was gonna say? Oh yeah, Slick Rick's dropping an album. The Victory album is gonna be Slick Rick's first album in 26 years. Idris Elba is gonna be executive producing this album, and there's also a film with it. Shout out to Mass Appeal. So I think that's gonna be the first one released on Mass Appeal, and we have a wave of projects coming from Mass Appeal over the next couple of weeks. What are we expecting from Slick Rick's album? And
I have no expectations, man. Slick Rick's a legend. I like that it's gonna be like visuals to it, like a movie to it
yeah,
or something. Knowing how his storytelling has been, I'm actually looking forward to the visual more than the music. Because I don't know what a Slick Rick album sounds like today. I
I
really
think
don't.
it's incredible. Slick Rick's one of those people that has his own sound that I feel like has stood the test of time. And if he comes with Slick Rick sound, it'll be so nostalgic that it's just going to be dope. You know what I mean? Like he has his own approach. And like you said, his storytelling and everything that everyone's heard about Slick Rick all these years, I think that he's going to be able to present that in an updated package and with visuals. And you have a film guy in Idris Elba, who, an actor who's executive producer. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this is going to be some really dope work. And I think this is a great way to set off, what Mass Appeal has going on.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
I hope he does some collabs, but
I
if he
hope
does, I'm cool with that. What's that?
I want to hear him and Dougie Fresh do another one.
Of course.
If all I get is that I like, I'm sold. That's all I want. Is just another him and Dougie Fresh updated record. What that sound like, and them taking it back, throwback. I have no expectations of this. Legend, they could do whatever they want at this point, bro. And I'm gonna listen, and then I ain't gonna shit on it.
There's one person I want to hear Slick Rick with, and maybe they've done a collab before, and I just don't remember, but I don't think they have. I want to hear Snoop and Slick Rick make a record together.
Yeah, I do too.
I'd be down with that. Like, and I really would like this whole project just to be Slick Rick with no collabs, honestly. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I love
do
Slick Rick
want to
that
hear him
much.
with certain people. I want to hear him with Snoop. I want to hear him with Nas. I want to hear him with Dougie Fresh again. You know what I'm saying? I kind of want to. I kind of want to hear him with another legend of time or something. If like some of those legends link up and hop on a record together, I even want to hear that. So there's certain people I do want to hear Slick Rick on the record with.
My favorite Jermaine Dupri song is with Slick Rick. I mean, I just love when Slick Rick does collabs anyway, man. Like, I'm just a huge Slick Rick fan. Like, he has that whole aura, like that whole voice. People keep talking about Jadakiss's son. We got to check this out in a second. But Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be what, June 13th? So that's right around the corner. Um, what's the best album? What's the hip hop album of the year for 2025 right now?
I still say it's Wiz.
I'm okay with that. Cushion Orange Juice 2. Cushion Orange Juice 2 is pretty fire. Well,
that
speaking
new
of
Kid
Wiz,
Rock album is actually good, but I have to go back and finish it because I didn't listen to all of it. But I do like what I'm hearing from that Key Glock album. But yeah, Wiz.
what do
That's
you
my
guys
guy.
think is hip hop's best album in 2025 so far? Now, we were going to talk about this topic, and we'll close out the show with this. Said review one of the worst years in hip hop and what came after that. What do you feel like is one of the worst years in hip hop? What do you guys in the chat feel like is one of the worst years in hip hop? What year would you zero that into?
Mm,
I'm about to switch my cameras real quick if I freeze. But go ahead.
yeah, one of the worst years. If we want to keep it current, I think that transitional period from like that 2009 to going in that 2010, like, yeah, we got some dope albums out of there. Like 2010, we got Good Kid, Mad City, but 2009, we got Loso's Way, we got Blueprint 3, we got what else was 2009? Wale Attention Deficit. Let me see. There was some albums in 2009, but really the sound of it was it still felt kind of stale out to the overall, you know, sound of music at the time. And then like we get the blog era that comes after that. So like I said, when every time we hit like a stalemate in hip hop, we got a good movement that comes after this. And that's why with me just looking at how the trend has been in hip hop, whenever you get a stale couple years or a stale year, is usually like a really good project that comes later on. So yeah,
Christopher Hogan says Starlito and Don Tripp's Step Brothers for Life album of the year. Got to
I haven't
check
heard
that
it.
out.
I haven't heard it. I did.
Somebody asked what came out in 2006. Let's do this. Best.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at 2009, man, I mean, we got some like some highlights. Like we got Rick Ross Deeper Than Rap. We got Drake So Far Gone. We got
I
Loso's
think
Way.
2009 was high. I think 2009 was
Just,
transitional.
just just me remembering what hip hop was like at that time, me being in college, that like this is where I say this is where it counts being outside. Because if we going based on these albums, like the best albums that's listed, 2009, they have Jay-Z Blueprint 3, Eminem Relapse, Drake So Far Gone, Ross Deeper Than Rap, Raekwon Only Built for Cuban Links Part 3. I mean, no, Part
part
2.
two. Yeah,
Kid
that was
Cudi,
the
Man
album.
on the Moon, The End of the Day, Wale, Attention Deficit, Fabulous Loso's Way, Gucci Man, Estate versus Roderick Davis, and 10 clips till the casket drops. Like, that's still kind of like mixtape. You really had to be. This is when I say when there's the internet and there's outside. This is going into the blog era that's coming after this. But being outside is where you heard what the sound of music was. If you're going based off these 10 albums, this was not the sound of what 2009 was. So that's what I'm
Bleachy's
saying.
chat says most. He said most top rappers put out their worst albums in 04 to 07. Let
Let's
me
look at
pull up 06. 06 was Hell Have No Fury by the Clips. The Game Theory, The Roots. Food and Liquor with Lupe Fiasco was 06. Nas Hip Hop Is Dead. Dilla Donuts. Doctor's Advocate from The Game. King from T.I., which I would have given Album of the Year in that year. Either that or Hell Have No Fury. The Shining from Dilla. The Big Bang Theory from Busta Rhymes. Blue Carpet Treatment from Snoop. Release Therapy from Ludacris. Kingdom Come from Jay-Z. The Inspiration from Jeezy. It was kind of a weaker year.
Yeah.
It was a weaker year. 06. So 07 was American Gangster, Below the Heavens, Graduation. All right, I'm going to take 07 out of it with just those alone. Below the Heavens was pretty dope, and Graduation there.
That was like the rise of Wayne, though, 07, ain't it?
Yeah,
That's
because you had the mixtapes going too. '08, Carter 3, Rising Down the Roots, The Renaissance, Q-Tip.
Then Paper
Shit.
Trail 2008.
Yes. Paper Trail 2008, raw footage from Ice Cube. Even with those two big efforts, you got LAX from The Game,
That was a good album.
The Recession from Jeezy,
That was a good
808
album too.
Heartbreaks, Triller. Okay.
That was a good
08
year.
had some moments.
Yeah, that was a good.
Collectively, it's not heavy, but it has some heavy moments. All right, let's go. Well, it ain't '05 because '05 got heat. We went
Yeah.
to '06, '07, '08. I think out of those years, yeah, '07 might be. I mean, because you said '09.
I said
'09,
09, yeah.
we got, Only Built for Cuban Links 2, The Blueprint 3. We got Ecstatic from Most Def. You seen Bay. You got Relapse from Eminem. You got Man on the Moon. UGK for Life. Kamal the Abstract. Okay. Like you said, the Gucci Mane. We know what 2010 is like. I don't know, man.
It's like every time it's a still like
Yeah.
you get a. That's why I say people, hey, it's cool. It's a stalemate, and I was saying there's a need for music. There's a need for music, but I really think this is the calm before the storm again, and we're gonna hit another run that we're gonna be happy with in hip hop. And I'm just going based off what the trend has been, what I've been seeing throughout the years.
I think so too, because the artists kind of get in a point where they feel like there's a moment that they can capture. I think Joey Badass feels like this could be his moment. Things are wide open.
Opportunity.
Yeah. I think ASAP probably feels the same way too, because even though ASAP is, becoming a household name or a household name in hip hop circles, I don't think he's had that big moment and that big rollout since, his debut studio album, or whatever, after he was coming off of, the mixtapes and everything like that, and came out with Problem. And what's it called? The Hit Boy song. I love the song so much. Shit. It'll come to me in a second. When he was in Paris, you know what I'm talking about.
Niggas in Paris?
Nah, ASAP.
Oh, song. ASAP. What album are you talking?
There was on Live Love ASAP. Shit. I said it must be because the nigga got dough.
Max, you talking about too? It had the screw voice on it.
Oh my God, what is wrong with me, man?
I don't know the name of it either. Mad Max, who you at? You are our NY delegate.
Goldie, I'm sorry, Goldie. Yeah.
Brand ambassador.
Right. Goldie. So yeah. All that stuff was coming, and I think that even outside of that, this is a moment for ASAP. And even though ASAP is a seasoned veteran in this thing, and so is Joey. I think it's an opportunity for, some of the people who are just hitting stride to become that name in hip hop. And yeah, I think that 2025 could be that year to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say this is where the bodies of work has to come in, and there's still time. We're in May. Mm-hmm. I hope we get a hell of I hope we get a fire summer. We haven't had a fire summer in hip hop in a long time, and to keep it a stack. The guy who I hate to give credit to, but who has always provided us with a sound for the summer was Drake. And, unless it's DJ Khaled, DJ Khaled always gave us an anthem or something like that. Or, the Migos, they gave us stuff. Future always gave us stuff for the summer. But it's like, that's what I want. I want those summer records. I want those fire albums. Like, come on, man. Let's make this shit fun again. Like I said, what's going on with Joey and them, that's cool. That's an element that I want in hip hop to stand out right now. But that can't be the only thing. We need all those other elements to come and form like Voltron, man. And I think we could look at a pretty good reviving year in hip hop and a redeemable one coming off a stalemate and everything. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it too, man. I'm about to go listen to this record from Jadakiss' son, because I don't think have I even heard Jada's son spit?
I heard him spit before.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I love the fact that people are jumping out being competitive, because we need more of this. And like you said, this competitive nature brings out, I think, better music, because it makes people more hungry and it gives people something to shoot for and to rap for and to, to stand on. And so, yeah, man, we need more of that, man. Shout out to our special guest, Mickey Factz. Appreciate your perspective as well, Savant, as always. Shout out to you guys in the chat. Hit like and subscribe, man. I'm sure we're going to have some more new music to talk about in the upcoming days. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, we got to make a hot summer too, man. Like, I think that this helps all of the platforms when we got fire music out there.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all.
All right.